Wendy Stearns.
And I'm Glenn Stearns.
And this is Grit Happens. Join us as we engage in candid conversations with some of the most successful people in every field and from every walk of life, all with the common thread of grit and a goal of not just surviving, but thriving.
And we hope that the show will help you feel informed, energized, and especially inspired.
So let's get started. This is Grit Happens.
Welcome.
All right. Hello.
We have got another exciting guest today. As you know, we fill all sorts of stories about grit and how it forms, how it creates, how it helps people in their life. And, we all have it.
We're not getting out of here without it. That's for sure.
No. And some people become a diamond. Some people just join the sand and the sea and they don't go very far. But there are those that take that grit and turn it into a diamond. And our next guest today, we're excited to welcome a former NBA player, highly coveted Hall of Fame national speaker, and motivational executive coach. This guy has played college basketball and is a life of grit and determination. And we're very excited.
College basketball, professional basketball too.
And the NBA.
That's right.
And he has a strong mentor in his life. And we want to hear all about his experience. Please welcome to the show, Walter Bond.
Hey, Walter.
Hey, welcome. Thank
How
you.
are
I'm
you?
excited. And I love the title of your show, Grit Happens. That explains my life. And so I'm honored to be here.
Oh,
so I got to meet Walter. We were both invited speakers
the Trust Edge conference
at a conference, and it was an awesome conference about trust. And Walter's got a story. I tell you, I was just actually hanging out yesterday with the owner of the Phoenix Suns and had dinner with him and
Chambers.
No, what's his name from Detroit? He was the nemesis of Michael J.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Dennis Rodman?
No, not Dennis.
I can think of the nemesis.
Isaiah Thomas? Isaiah
Thomas. Yes, that's who it was.
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had dinner with him.
He tries to drop names. He can't even remember the
Damn.
names he's trying to drop.
Oh well. Yeah, he was a big guy. Yeah, no, but Isaiah Thomas. But yeah, and we were there just the other day watching a little basketball. So that was fun.
That's awesome. It's a great sport. It's a great sport.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your journey getting there. Let's talk about a little bit of your gritty story and where you started and how you ended up in the NBA. That's a big. Not everybody gets that story, and it's varied.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit of your background. I want our friends
Well,
to know.
first of all, the NBA is a journey, right? As you said, it took me 15 years to become an NBA ball player. It's 15 years of development, 15 years of grit, 15 years of practice, 15 years of setbacks, 15 years of victories. And I grew up in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago. And my parents were teachers. My mother was a kindergarten teacher. My dad was a high school principal. And so obviously school and athletics was important in my family. My big sister played college ball at USC out there in California.
There you go.
My dad was in the Hall of Fame at his college. My uncle, I was named after, played in Major League Baseball. And so I came from a very athletic family, but we were really into education. And so I kind of struggled academically. And that was a bit of a challenge growing up, not because I wasn't smart enough. I was just so focused on sports. I didn't care about school,
Yeah.
And so what happened?
I wouldn't focus on sports, but I also didn't do too well either.
Well, it's a lot of students out here in recovery, right? And
That's right.
Yeah, and so got a chance to play college basketball at the University of Minnesota. And at that time, I had never struggled in sports. And then I found myself sitting on the bench in college. And so earlier, before that, I kind of had some academic challenges, got that worked out. And then for the first time in my life, I was sitting on the bench in sports. The one thing that came easy for me, natural for me. But the truth is, I was at a new level. And, using your term grit, initially I was kind of feeling sorry for myself, throwing pity parties and making excuses, and had a long talk with my dad, and he kind of taught me accountability. And he was like, you chose Minnesota, go make it work. And I went back to my coach's office and I said, Coach, what do I need to do to play in the NBA? And he laughed and he said, son, you don't play for me, you
Oh.
know? And
Yeah.
but this is what I told him, guys. I said, Coach, I'm going to become someone different. Just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. And at that moment, I was committed to doing whatever it took to become an NBA ball player. And that kind of created a journey of development. And I tell anyone, especially in our business coaching profiles, that it's impossible to reach your potential without a coach. You know, if I didn't learn anything else on my journey to the NBA, I think it's so important to have some type of advisor. You know, we all hit these crossroads in life, whether you start a company, lose a company, leave a job, become an entrepreneur, or whatever, you know, leave home for the first time. You know, we always hit these crossroads, and many people are making these life-changing decisions by themselves on their own.
Yep.
I've had coaches my whole life. And luckily, my college basketball coach helped me get my basketball career on track. And I listened, I executed, and I ended up making it to the NBA, played for the Dallas Mavericks, where I met my wife. And I tell
Aw.
people, you know, when you're an athlete, you see pretty, you see cute all the time. There's something about pro sports attracts pretty and cute.
That's
But when I
right.
saw my wife, I saw wife for the first time. And we
Really?
dated
That's a
for
big,
4 months and got engaged and married within 11 months and had an 8-year professional basketball career. I made one mistake through my basketball career that I regret. I didn't recalibrate. You know, I believe in continuous improvement. I believe in getting bigger, stronger, and faster. And I'm very transparent. You know, you guys heard me in Minneapolis. I don't hold anything back. I've been successful, but I failed. And my biggest disappointment after making it to the NBA, I didn't recalibrate. You know, I
and
was
what that
just so
means.
Yeah.
focused on getting there. I didn't sit down and say, okay, now what do I need to do to stay? You know, and I ended up playing in the NBA 3 years, and I regretted that I didn't do what it was required of me to stay longer. And but I learned that lesson, and now I recalibrate every year. My wife and I we
Yeah.
do conferences for small business owners. It's called the off season. You know, business acceleration and recalibration. Like you, we're duopreneurs. You know, we
Right.
work together. We're business partners. And so the journey to the NBA really was preparing me for my purpose. And now my wife and I, we go all over the country. We go international, motivating, inspiring business leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners on what it takes really to become elite, but most importantly, how to stay elite,
Well,
right?
I
Kings
was
may
gonna
rise and fall all the time.
say that, Walter, because so many people can acquire money or acquire success at a job or or in the NBA or wherever, right? And when you get there, you go, wow, look at me, man. I made it. Aren't I great? And then you sit back and you think, wow, like
Don't stink.
yeah. And then, and the reality is, it's one thing to make it, it's another thing to keep it. Right.
Right,
And
right,
so
right.
that what requires the mindset and the hard work, because getting there, I've always, now that I've been fortunate to have some success in some businesses, getting there, that's kind of been the fun part, man. Let's drive, let's go, let's work harder than the other guy, let's stay later, let's do it, everybody, get. And then you get to the top and you're like, and if you just take your eye off the ball right then, you're going to get run over, man, because other people are working just as hard to get to where you are or where you want to be. And you say that, and it just reminds me of so many business owners and so many other people I know that when you get there, that's only the beginning of the work. Now the hard work comes. You got to stay there. You got to work again even harder, because now you're competing at a level where everybody's great, right? And how do you stay there? So what happened when you finally got there? Did you sit back a little and do the and get run over, or what happened?
You know, honestly, I don't think I gloated. You know, I don't think I got full of myself. Honestly, to be totally honest, I had such a journey to get there. You know, you're talking about a guy who didn't start on his college basketball team. My senior year, I broke my foot twice. I mean, it was a hell of a trip getting there.
Wow.
And I think by the time I made it, I think I was somewhat fatigued. I think I was a little exhausted. And I don't think I got arrogant or anything. I think I just wanted to rest a little bit. But unfortunately, I rested for 3 years, and I was good, but I didn't keep getting better. Right, and
Yeah.
that had been the story of my life. And the good news for me is that that was not my purpose. Because when I got cut, think about this: it took me 15 years to make it. Took me 15 seconds to get cut. I
Dang.
remember it like it was yesterday. Jerry Sloan was like, "Hey, check with the trainer. He has your plane ticket. We're going in a different direction." That's all he said to me. And literally, it was a 15-second conversation after 15 years of work. And I was literally devastated. And I
Oh,
went home and I cried in my wife's arms like a little baby. I mean, I'm talking about sobbing because
oh.
it was my life. It was my dream. It was everything that I knew. And at that moment, I made a commitment that, you know what? I told my wife, I'm going to be great at something. And I didn't know what, but I learned how to become elite, but now I realize how to stay elite.
Right.
And as you said, that's a two-step process.
Right.
And we help our clients become elite, but more important, we help them stay elite. I was thinking the other day, kingdoms rise and fall all the time. I
Mhm.
think about like Maxwell House and Folgers coffee. When we grew up, every house had it.
Oh yeah.
Always
Mhm.
had one or two. But how did they lose the coffee game? They're not number one anymore. So it's so easy to be number one. But if you take your eye off the ball and relax, you can easily get passed by in your industry.
Every dog
Um,
has his day.
Talk
that's
about
right, right.
taking your eye off the ball and how you Subway did that because you came in Jersey Mike's recruited you to their team and talk about that story. That's an incredible story of someone being on top and taking their eye off the ball because someone else was working a little harder.
Great point. Kingdoms rise and fall all the time. Subway obviously has more locations, but Jersey Mike's, we're opening up 300 stores a year. And Subway's closing stores, and they're still a 800-pound gorilla. I mean, they still are a force to be reckoned with. But the truth is, Jersey Mike's is the hottest brand in franchising. But here's why. Jersey Mike's and has allowed us to influence the culture, and they have a great team, amongst themselves. But I'm kind of like their secret weapon. And we came
Yeah.
in 8 years ago, my wife and I both, and said, "Hey, we're going to kick Subway's butt." When we first started saying it, they kind of looked around like, "What?" And
Yeah.
again, kingdoms rise and fall all the time. And, Jersey Mike's is in the people business. And I think that's probably the biggest difference. And Peter King Crow, the founder, he and I spent a lot of time together. I've learned a whole lot from him, obviously. And, he's humble enough to learn from me. And he said, "Man, Walter, you're so important. I want people to know, what you've done for us." And we basically came inside of Jersey Mike's and really helped the mindset. And that's probably what my wife and I do best is help people develop a mastery mindset, but also learn how to keep getting to that next level and really achieve your personal best. Again, you talk about Michael Jordan or LeBron James. I played in NBA, but I would be unfair to myself to say unless I become as good as LeBron James or Michael Jordan, my career wasn't important. I had to become the best version of me. I had to become the best version of me. And for me, that was important for me to become the best version of me. And so I think that's what life is all about. Michael Jordan obviously was more talented than me. He had more gifts than I did. He had a different responsibility. He had to go become Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to go and become the best version of Walter Bond. I think at the end of the day, I think God is looking for all of us to become the best version of ourselves.
That's
And it
right.
begins with the mindset, the mentality, and if you get your mind right, I think it's really easy to become the best version of yourself.
You talk about the shark mindset, and then is there a moment where it switches from you're going from being a minnow to a shark? Is there something? Is there somebody or something that helped implement that switch?
If you think about every great movie, and our book Swim really encapsulates what it's all about. If you think about every great movie that we love, Karate Kid had Mr. Miyagi, right? Rocky had Mickey. Every great movie, there's always some type of coach or advisor. And the reason why sharks run the ocean is because of one thing, their mindset. Sharks are freaking relentless. And in our book, Swim, we teach what we call the sacred six. Sharks never stop moving forward or they die. The
Right.
way a shark breathes is through their movement in the water. They get oxygen. Their whole life depends on their movement. And so if you ever see someone who's depressed or frustrated or angry, they're moving.
They're
You
not
know,
moving.
they just they're not making progress. And of course, if you're not making progress, you should be frustrated, right? It's easy because you know inside that I'm not going anywhere and I know it, right? And so we help our clients create progress. You guys have 6 kids, right? The most important step a child makes is that baby step.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
think about that. You know,
Yeah.
you want to record that baby step. Why? Because that baby step represents progress. It represents independence. It represents movement. And so sometimes in life, we discount baby steps. You know what? If you're making progress, that's
It
great. You know, I only
all
lost one
matters.
pound. That 1 pound is progress, right? And if you lose 1 pound, you can lose 100 pounds.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
so we really teach and celebrate progress.
Is that part
Yeah.
of the sacred 6 of the baby steps, or what are the sacred
Let
6?
me go through them real quick.
Sauce.
Sharks never stop moving forward or they die,
Okay. Sharks
right? So
move.
that's about being tenacious, being relentless, making progress. 2,
Okay.
this is in the book Swim. Sharks only look up, they
Mhm.
never look down.
Oh,
If
I
you
did.
ask people who
Yeah.
swim with sharks, they stay below the shark. As long as you stay below the shark didn't even notice you,
Ah, how about that?
which is cool, right? So
They're
think
not
Yeah.
about
bottom
how many
feeders.
people get distracted by petty.
They're not
That's
bottom
right.
feeders. They feed from the top.
That's right. Petty, some things got to be below you or beneath you, right? And so if you get down in the weeds and get petty, you're going to easily get distracted. You know, one thing I never did as a ball player, I would never allow a heckling fan to even know I heard them. I would not even acknowledge a heck. Now, if you say, hey, great game, I'm going to acknowledge you. But if I heard a fan heckling me, I would ignore them. I would not even give them the satisfaction that I
Right.
heard them speaking. Why? Because I'm in the NBA. I'm wearing the jersey, and you're a freaking fan heckling me. Thank you.
Right.
You're
You
not
know
worthy of
what?
my attention.
I tell you, Walter, we've had a lot of success in our businesses, and there's been times when people have come in and go, do you hear what the competition is saying about us? They're saying all this negative stuff, and they keep, I've heard this my whole life, and I say, isn't it wonderful they're talking about us? I mean, we are moving the needle, and these people are nervous. They got to throw out all these things that get people and to start to get nervous. Well, that's actually a compliment to your success, to all your hard work. We got to stop looking at the pettiness as things that distract us and say, isn't that wonderful that they do that? Move on.
With sharks, not the
You know
bottom.
what I tell people, guys? If you don't have haters, your vision is too small,
I like
That's
that.
right.
I like that.
right?
Wait,
Haters
wait,
are
we
a
got
part of the
number 3.
landscape.
We got keep
Yep.
swimming, only look up. What is
Never look down.
I'm not gonna
Sharks are curious and always learning.
curious and
You know,
always
sharks are intelligent. I mean, they remember hunting grounds. They remember everything. They're just intelligent, right? But their intelligence is driven by their curiosity. And imagine if all business owners were curious about being a better leader, curious about building better cultures, curious about how to create better engagement with their employees. If you're not curious, you're not learning. So sharks are curious and always learning.
I just saw something
Sharks,
last night about millionaires. Most of the billionaires read books, lots of books. Like every week, they're reading a new book because
that's right.
all you need is one good idea that makes you lots of money.
You know what? A good book is a $20 coaching session. Think about that. For 20 freaking bucks, I could have a coaching session with anyone who's ever written a book for just $20. But sharks respect their environment and they recognize other sharks. No. So think about a simple employee, not simple employee, but just thinking about an employee who respects the fact that they have a job. You would never have quietly quitting. You never have employee apathy. Why? Because I might not love my job. I might not love my boss, but hey, I get to eat because of them.
Yep.
I
It's
pay my
called
rent.
riding for the brand. That's what we call it.
Yeah,
Ride for the
like in
brand.
exchange for a roof over my head, all I have to do is to care and work hard. So if a person had that mentality that I respect my environment and recognize other sharks, that alone can make you successful because when I see someone successful, I see what they're doing and I observe them, I admire them, and I see how they move. Now, here's a big one, guys. We only got through 4. I got 2 more.
Okay.
Sharks move different. Think about that. Sharks move different in that water, but so do millionaires. You know, I find it fascinating that some people are millionaires, right? And that's like the number everybody wants to hit. Oh, he's a billionaire. You know, millionaires move different. You know, they just move different than people who make $100,000,
Right.
right? But here, I live in a neighborhood with 6 billionaires. If you really think about that, woo-wee, billionaires, you just move different. You just think different. Your approach is different. And one day, my wife and I were joking, and we were with a really successful guy. We were in his house, and we love being around successful people because, as far as we're concerned, we've done nothing yet. Keeps us very humble. And I looked at my wife. We must have been in a 20,000 square foot home. I said, "Babe, you know what? I want to apologize to you. I wish I was smarter." She looks back at me with a straight face and says, "Me too."
Uh, you know what it is? It's that confidence, right? And it's always that's why you surround yourself with other people that maybe have got game, I guess you could call it as well. And you sit there and you go, okay, you know what? I can do better. I can keep, and as long as we keep, to your point, moving and keep thinking about, because once you get to the top, so to speak, and you don't see anybody else up there, it's hard to grow. But you've got to surround yourself with other people that say, I can keep going, I can go better, I can go harder. That's the way you grow, and so I like being around people that make me think, oh, I still got a long way to go. No matter what level you're at, you got to
That's right.
always
That's right.
have something
That's right.
to reach for.
Okay,
Well,
number seven.
iron sharpens iron, guys. I mean, we've all heard that saying. And when I played in the NBA, I mean, I was around the best basketball players in the world. And that demanded excellence out of me. But the smartest thing my wife and I did when we left the basketball environment, we had a conversation. She was like, you know what? I need to get you around business people. I was like, great idea. So we joined the country club. We joined the country club as soon as our career was over. We weren't golfers and we just joined as social members, but it gave us access to successful business people. And through these relationships, I built my confidence. And I was like, you know what? These guys aren't smarter than me.
Right.
And you know what pissed me off? They only wanted to talk about sports with me. That's the only time they would engage a conversation. And I was like, oh, I'm just the dumb jock over here. And I began to take that a little personally, and I began reading books. I began getting educated. I began to learn business. And before I knew it, now we live in the country club now, and they come to me for advice. Hey, Walter, I need you can you join our long-term planning committee? And my wife's on committees, and they really respect our intellect. They respect the diversity that we have. We bring a different energy, a different mindset, a different mentality. And you're right. I mean, it's so important for people to get access to successful people, because if you get access to successful people, that's the best way for you to grow and develop. So sharks are curious and always learning, right? And there's two more.
Two more.
Sharks are made of cartilage,
All right.
which means they're flexible.
Ah,
When think about that, every other fish has bones. You eat fish, they have hard bones. And too many bones is like, I don't even want to eat the fish. But sharks are made of cartilage, which means they're flexible. They know how to pivot. They know how to change. They can adapt to their environment. And when COVID hit, Peter Cancrow, the founder of Jersey Mike's, called me, and he had just bought everybody a copy of Swim. They all read the book, and so they knew sharks are curious. Sharks never stop moving. They knew the sacred six, right? And he goes, you know what? I'm a shark, so I'm going to pivot. That's what he did through COVID. We're going to feed all first responders for free. Every
Yeah.
cop, every fireman, every public responder through COVID ate free at Jersey Mike's. And then he gave every customer a 50% discount, right?
wow.
America was, the world's being challenged, but America was struggling, right? So you can go to Jersey Mike's and get a 50% discount, but then he backed it up for the franchisee and gave them the 50% discount on the back end. So as an operator, I gave the customer 50% off, but then I still got paid for the 100% of the service. So he made that pivot through COVID, and I'm telling you, Jersey Mike's has not looked back. And so he
Wow.
remembered that sharks are made of cartilage. I'm the founder, I'm the owner, I got to do something, I got to pivot. And so we, through our coaching and the Sacred Six, have been able to help inspire this brand to go to new heights. And they love us forever. And finally, of the Sacred Six, sharks are codependent on a suckerfish. kind of a long story, but no matter how big a shark gets, it's vulnerable to parasites. If a parasite gets into the nostrils or the gills, it could kill or severely damage a shark. So shark recruits teammates called suckerfish. And it's a symbiotic relationship. They work in tandem. I need you and you need me. And the suckerfish gets to go on free rides in the ocean. So the moral of the story is that mentors are needed. And a mentor's job is to take you places that you can't take yourself. But the suckerfish job has one freaking job. You're going to get free meals. You get free rides in the ocean, okay? But you got one job to do.
Take care of my host.
When you see a parasite, eat the freaking parasites and keep me clean. So for a company, the company is the shark, the employees are the suckerfish. And we're going to work together in tandem, and we're going to go places together that we can't go by ourselves.
Can we use another word than suckerfish?
The official name is a remora. It's called
Remora.
a remora. But they have a suction on the top of their head that's like a suction. And that's which means they're smart. Think about it. The suction on the top of their head. If you're smart, you will always have a mentor. If you're smart, you'll always have a coach. And the suckerfish connects to the shark. And I'm telling you, it's a beautiful relationship. And my story, guys, is I've always been a suckerfish with great coaches, great mentors, great leaders, and I stayed close to them and allowed them to influence me.
Who was one of the mentors that like really stuck out? Explain your one of your early mentors.
Well, you know, my father became a high school principal when I flunked out my first high school, right? So that was a big moment because it was all about academics then. I was a great athlete. I was one of the best players in the country, and I did well on the court, right? But in the classroom, I wasn't getting it done, and so he became a high school principal. To my wife, you know, my wife worked for Dr. Pepper, and she was a pharmaceutical drug rep. And so when I retired from basketball, I had never had a job. I never had a real job. And so I needed her to go get a job and get some benefits until I was able to kind of figure out some stuff. And she was able to teach me basic business terms. And she comes from an entrepreneurial family, right? So when my career ended, you know, after 8 years of pro basketball, you know, I needed my wife, you know, and she kind of helped, you know, man the ship until I can get my business legs up under me. And now we do it together. But, you know, I've always been coachable. You know, the book Swim, we got mentored by Mark Victor Hansen from Chicken Soup for Your Soul. He mentored us. So I don't do anything without an advisor or a coach or a mentor. And some of my mentors obviously are in my life, but I pay for a coach. You know, we were with our business coach yesterday for 2 hours. So that's the whole moral of the shark and the suckerfish. You know what? At any time in the day, we should always be a shark or a suckerfish. You know, and I'm gonna tell you a quick story. When we were with Peter Cancro of Jersey Mike's, we stopped in Detroit and we had a business meeting with Tom Monahan, the founder of Domino's Pizza. And so when we left the meeting, I looked at Peter. I said, Peter, that's your shark. He goes, yeah. Yeah. I was like, it was the first time I had seen him be a suckerfish. And I was fascinated. This guy's a billionaire that has a coach and a mentor. And all he asked Tom Monahan, who took Domino's back in the 70s and the 80s, remember 30 minutes or it's free? You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And he asked him, he was like, you know, how can I take better care of my franchisees? And he was asking Tom Monahan, you know, one of the historical franchisors of all time, how to do it. And he sat there just like Tom Monahan was Mr. Miyagi, and he was Karate Kid. And it was a beautiful thing to see someone that successful that I've seen be the shark everywhere he goes, except that one moment. He was humbled in the presence of Tom Monahan. So the moral of the story, I am totally convinced. I don't care who you are. I don't care how big you get. I don't care how rich you get. You should always have a mentor. You should always have some type of coach or an advisor. You should always be a suckerfish and allow somebody else to be your shark. And that's the whole moral of the shark and the suckerfish. If I ever get in the presence of Tony Robbins, I'm the suckerfish. He's a shark. John Maxwell, I'm the suckerfish. He's a shark. Mark Victor Hansen, I'm the suckerfish. He's the shark. Most places I go, I'm a shark and I'm able to be other mentors. But I'm smart enough to realize when I'm in the presence of someone who needs to be my shark, I will humble myself in a minute. Whether you're a great author, a speaker, or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm humble enough to know that there's always someone out here better, that you can learn from. And that's been the story of my life, because I've been like the incredible C student who got it figured out. And
Yeah,
the
both of
one
you
thing I
guys.
know for a fact is that the book Swim and the Sacred Six has been transforming companies, transforming lives. It's a parable, so it's a great story. People pick up the book, they can't put it down. And we have people showing us photos with a tattoo of a shark, and it's just awesome.
One of our friends wrote the book, How to Swim with the Sharks and Without
Oh, he knows
Being
him.
Alive, right?
He lives there.
Harvey?
He lives Harvey McKay, right?
I know Harvey McKay. I know Harvey McKay. Absolutely. He's a Minnesota guy. I lived in Minnesota 25 years. I
Yeah.
know Harvey McKay very well.
Of that book. So, what were you gonna say?
I was just very in line with a lot of what you said, being in business for so long and having mentors and looking, always having someone to look up to is so important, because you can get to the top of the game, but you have to keep striving for something, and it's so important to find people. And it's one thing to always, it's a reciprocal thing, as you said, right? You can't just take, you have to give. And there's one thing we've always said: too much is given, much is required, right? And so when you continue to keep that mindset of giving back, and no matter how big you are, I think it helps you grow in your own business as well, and taking on mentors has always been so critical to me, because I know it's gotten me through a lot. But then turning it around, we're always trying to give back to younger people, or it doesn't matter their age, but people that are still wanting to learn as well. So
Talk
Wait,
about.
here's
Go ahead.
I'll make one more comment. Here's a beauty. Remember, I talked about a shark,
Yeah.
a suckerfish, and a parasite. So when people read the book, it's clear it's three kind of people in this world: sharks, suckerfish, and parasites. The only difference between a parasite and a suckerfish is powerful. A parasite takes and does not give.
yeah,
Think about it. They're both connected to a shark, but one takes and takes and takes and takes and has no intentions on giving. So to your point, life should always be reciprocal give and take. But if you ever find a selfish person in the book Swim, we let you know there's hope for a parasite. And
I tell
all
you,
that person doing is being selfish in that moment.
Walter, I've had times, I had two great mentors in my life that helped me, and I sat with them through the most incredibly difficult times. And at one point, they both came and said, "Hey, I want to invest in your business." And I was, at the lowest I could possibly be. I was on my knees, ready to give in and give up. And as they kept saying, "Tell me, how much do you want to sell your business for?" And I kicked it down the road for a couple weeks, and I finally said, "You know what? There's not enough money in the world worth my friendship with you and advice I get, and to get and tie the money into it. I just don't want to do it." And I knew these guys, they were so successful. They didn't care really about being in my business. They were trying to give me a helping hand, and I didn't want to mix the money with this mentorship. And it ended up working out very well. I didn't get into business with them, but and they would kick me all the time. "Well, I should have made you invest, because we did really well." Well, I've had some people that I've mentored, and then maybe a few months into it, they go, "I was wondering, can I borrow some money?" And I'm like, "All right, listen, are we going to work here as mentor, mentee, or am I your bank? Because there's a big difference, right?" And I think it's
It feels more parasitic.
yeah, it does. It feels more parasitic when all you want is money from somebody. There wasn't enough money in the world for me worth the advice I was getting from these great men who've, again, they've, to this day, they're I look at them as the two best giants in my life, so
Well, one thing that I've learned, and I'm sure you guys would agree, money's important, very important, but it's overrated. And a lot of times when people don't have money, They really believe that's the only thing I need. And if I get some money, I'll be fine. The truth is who you are is the most important thing. And you know, for example, a guy like Magic Johnson, you know, he's always been, I've never met him, I've never hung out with him. He's someone I've always admired. And I think he's successful, not just because he was a great basketball player. I think Magic Johnson's successful could be because he's just a successful person, you know, and he does the right thing. He treats people the right way. And I think that in life, if you do want to make more money, if you do want to be more successful financially, you have to become a great person.
Yep.
I've seen some wealthy people who are miserable. And I think a lot of times they put all of their self-esteem and joy into the money instead of being a great person.
Right.
And you know, to
Money
your
only
point,
magnifies who you are.
that's right. That's right. It allows you to express who you are better, right?
Right.
So if you're a good guy, you could be a really good guy with some money. If you're a jerk, you can be a really good jerk with some
That's
money,
right.
right?
Besides that jerk.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Talk a little bit about audacious goals. You mentioned that as when you speak of audacious.
Love
What
it.
do you
Well, you know, that's a
try
part of our teamwork coaching program. We take companies through and we talk about winners, losers, and champions. And unfortunately, most people just talk about winning and losing. But as an athlete, there's always a champion, right? And so in business, I think we can be champions. And the only way to be a champion is to be focused on some type of audacious goal. And I remember playing for the Utah Jazz, loved Utah. We were winners, but we never talked championship. It wasn't like a conversation we had in the locker room. And before I signed with the Utah Jazz, I was in Chicago with the Chicago Bulls for like 5 days. And I ended up leaving Chicago because Utah gave me more money on my contract. But the truth is, for those 5 days in Chicago, one thing that was clear to me, that their only goal was to win a championship. And if we don't win a championship, this is a bad season. If we're runner-ups, right? And lose, it's a
Right.
bad season. And to me, that taught me that a champion has an audacious goal. And once you have an audacious goal, that's what you get excited about. And that's what you can rally your company around. I just did 2 half-day workshops with 2 different banks, and took them through the champions roadmap, right? And my first question for them was, what is your audacious goal? Dead silence. Dead silence. And I don't bail you out. I sit there like, okay, what's your
Okay.
audacious goal? And I was quiet until the CEO of the bank says, well, I guess we don't have one.
Oh
And
God.
I knew the answer, but I wanted them to know the answer
Wow.
because to play in the NBA was an audacious goal. And that's the only thing that kept me going, right? I broke my foot twice. I had my teeth knocked out. I didn't start in college. My wife and I, our first business went bankrupt. We bought a franchise called Jimboree Playing Music, and we went bankrupt. We were busted. But our goal was to make more money in business than we did in sports. And that's when the grit came back. So even though we were rock bottom, even though we were broke, we still had an audacious goal of making more money in business than we did in sports. And that's what's that got us back on our feet. Right?
Yeah.
That has got us back in the laboratory. And you know what we learned? We will never, ever do a business just to make money. That's the only reason we bought this franchise because we thought we could make some money. And my wife and I realized we were not passionate about that business. This training and development company we founded in 2001, we are passionate about helping companies and individuals grow. And let me give you one tip for all business owners. Most business owners want to grow externally, making more money. The fastest way to grow externally is to grow your people internally. And that's what we do with Jersey Mike Subs. We're teaching the Sacred Six. We're teaching the mindset. We're teaching how to be better leaders. We're teaching them how to manage their culture, which we call the locker room. And by them growing their people, that's how you kick the competition's butt. I just gave $1 million secret, probably a multi-billion-dollar secret, that for any business owner, you must turn your company into a training and development organization. Why? Your most valuable asset are your people. So if you're going to, in sports, we had to get in the weight room. We had to lift. We had to develop. You had to build your
That's
muscles.
right.
Same thing is true in business. You got to develop your people. And if you can be a leader who thinks like a coach, we just finished creating a whole training on turning leaders into coaches. Because I'll be honest with you, when I left sports, I was 30 years old. That's how I saw leaders as coaches. When I got into the business world, I was expecting the same thing. I didn't see it. I was like, they don't even think like coaches. And so we've been on a mission to really turn all of our clients' leaders into coaches. And that alone is transformational. And so my wife and I, we love what we do. She's our head coach. She does all of our coaching programs, builds all of our curriculums. I'm just a pretty face and a smile, right? But the heavy lifting and the heavy coaching, we have a whole team of coaches that do it. And I stay pretty much in a keynote lane and really communicate our core message that you must turn your company into a training and development organization. And then my team comes in and does all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
You know, we just had a big vibe event.
Yeah, we had a great event.
You're coming to the next one.
Oh yeah,
I'm nailing you right now.
That's right. You know, we've got thousands of brokers that work with us at Kind Lending, and you know, it kind of became pretty apparent when every event we ever went to, all they wanted to talk about, or not all they wanted to, but all that was talked about was interest rates and whether the market's going up and down and these things. And you know, you start thinking, what about personal growth? What about the fact that we're not here just to see if interest rates go up and down, but about how do you become a better leader? How do you become better at being happy? You know, it didn't have to be about business. It had to be about your life. If you spend so much time together, how do we develop ourselves more than just thinking about it alone, but how you get to your, again, the inside here, right? And so we had a wonderful event and had a lot of just the most amazing feedback ever because it was different and it was all about really personal growth.
Had a hard time in the last few years. Business has been very difficult, and you know, you just want to, like you said, you got to have that cartilage. You got to swim. You got to try something new that people haven't seen before, and it was a really, really successful kind of a debut, if you will, in the industry. Very well received. And that's kind of like the leader that Glenn is. I love the idea, the analogy you talk about being a leader. You either lead with a machete or you lead with a whistle. And with Glenn, I think you have your whistle, and that's kind of what we're doing. Will you expand upon that a little bit about being a leader with those two tools?
Yeah, well, you know, you can lead people, you know, in a great way and still challenge them. You know, I mean, that's what coaches do. They challenge you, but at the same time, you know that they got your back, you trust them, and you know that their number one goal is to get you better. And the truth is, the answer is yes. I would love to come and do something for you guys at your conference. But you know, again, here's what the average human spirit is looking for when they get hired by a company. Can I reach my potential here?
Yeah.
You know, whether they're saying that overtly or it's really buried deep in their subconscious, that's what people are thinking. Can I reach my potential here? If the answer is yes, I stay. If the answer is no, I leave. So why not have training and development built into your culture? Because at a conscious or a subconscious level, they'll say to themselves, well, hell, I can stay right here. Why? Because I can reach my potential here. This environment, I'm learning leadership skills. I'm learning how to be a better communicator. I'm learning how to overcome objections. I'm growing as a business person. I'm growing, man. I love this environment. So I want to stay. You know, our book now is called Cultivate. Think about that name. Cultivate. Isn't that a beautiful name? Because that's what leaders must do, cultivate. And so we're on a mission to teach leaders how to cultivate their team. You know, you can cultivate accountability. You can cultivate commitment, right? You can cultivate chemistry. And so most of our leaders don't know what they don't know. And so when they come to our workshops or when they come to our sessions, they're like, dude, this is simple but brilliant. Thank you. Because again, on my way to the NBA, it was like God was preparing me for my real purpose. And so now my wife and I work together as a team, transforming individuals and organizations, but it requires immersion. I mean, it took me 15 years to become. And when I watch the NBA now, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe I used to play. These guys are good.
Oh, wow.
But I was under such great coaching that I began to do things that I didn't even know I was capable of. But I was immersed in an industry, in a culture where my coaches knew how to cultivate. And so now I don't call my business leaders leaders. We call them coaches. And that very term alone, if you just tell a leader your job is to coach and to cultivate, they look at you and tilt their head like, wow. Like I've never even thought that.
Yeah,
Of
wow.
course, because you've been focused on money.
That's
Cultivate your people because that's your most valuable asset. And it's your biggest expense. Most businesses, your biggest expense is payroll. Duh. If your biggest expense is payroll, why not cultivate the people that are your best asset that you got to pay for?
That's right.
You know, let's get
Yes.
every dime out
Amen.
of the money you're paying them. You
I
know,
like that.
Yeah,
That's our next meeting. I'm bringing a whistle. And a flag and a penalty flag.
that's right. Well, we absolutely, again, when I saw you, I was like, you are right up our alley with what's going on. Again, a lot of the people, that watch this are business owners and are people that are, or they want to be business owners, right? And they've got to understand how to navigate these waters, and that life isn't perfect, and that we need to keep moving, and be flexible.
Look up and
That's right.
attach to the shark, or get yourself some remora.
that's right. That's right. Well, we're really kingdom builders, and as I said earlier, kingdoms rise and they fall all the time. And a lot of well-meaning business leaders and business owners honestly don't know what they don't know. And so our job is to really educate so people can think right, execute so they can win right. And we are seeing clients get amazing results. We had a medical device company, we coached them for 12 months. Now, think about this.
Wow.
You can stay the same the next 12 months, or you can get radically different in the next 12 months. The choice is yours. We helped a medical device company grow their sales by 60 million. And all we did twice a month, we did a coaching program for their managers, and then we did a coaching program for their sales team. And so we were coaching everyone but their executives. So we did middle managers and their sales team. And in 1 year, they grew by $60 million. Why? Because of coaching.
Wow.
It was just
Wow.
strictly coaching. We developed their people, and their culture got on fire. They all developed the same mindset, the same mentality. And I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing to see. And I just wish more companies would listen to the message. You must become a training and development organization at your core, and that's the key to industry dominance.
I love Walter, you are so inspiring. Where can people find you? They want to get you, bring you in, hire you, and follow you. Where do they go? They got your books.
Well,
But
we have two websites, and I don't know if you can put it in the chat or
yeah,
make it
Yeah.
easy.
we will.
It's peakperformershuddle.com. So
Okay.
peakperformershuddle.com,
Okay.
or you can go to walterbond.com.
Love it.
walterbond.com or Peak Performance Huddle. We created the huddle because if you think about it, you have to have a place to go.
Right.
I mean, and if I'm a professional, if my company doesn't believe in training and development, where do I go to get better? I went to the gym to get better as a basketball player. Everything I needed was at the gym. The weight room was at the gym, the showers, the trainers, the coaches, the video. Going into that building was hope that if I go into this building, I can get better. And so we created Peak Performance Huddle for executives, for fellow speakers, entrepreneurs, anyone who wants to get better and needs a place to go. That's why we created the Peak Performance Huddle.
I
Love it.
love it. And then, are you on Instagram? Do you have a presence?
Yeah, we're on Instagram. We're on all social media.
Peak Performance
Yes.
Huddle on Instagram? Or
No, I don't think so. It's just a website.
Walter Bond on Instagram.
Oh, we do have. I've been corrected. My teammate just corrected me.
Yeah.
We do have Peak Performance Huddle on Instagram
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
and Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm getting it real time.
And your partner.
And
is
YouTube.
that Antoinette? Is that the?
That is Antoinette. Come say hi. She's so pretty.
Your
Come
shark.
say hi. I want you guys to see how pretty my teammate is. Here, hurry up.
I'm inspired by her.
She is just. She woke up like this, guys.
Oh my
Hey.
gorgeous.
How you
Nice.
guys doing?
Good.
Good,
Really
thank you.
enjoyed
Thank
Walter
you.
the other day. Yeah.
Oh, I love your.
Love to meet you.
Yeah, she woke up like this.
Dang, that's something else. Yeah, you
Hey,
love-
we love duopreneurs, so let it rock. Fantastic.
There we go.
I
Yeah.
love it. Baby shark
Yeah.
and daddy shark and mama shark.
Exactly.
Right.
All right.
All right.
So nice to meet you. Well, thank you, Walter. Thank you for joining us on Grid Happens. We appreciate you being part of our our day. And boy, we got inspired, so many notes and so much great inspiration. But and we'll be looking for you and looking forward to talking to you about our next Vibe event next year. Excited to have you part of it. But thank you.
Yes,
Thanks again.
we
for
love
sharing.
California. We travel, so let me
All
know.
right. Well, we
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you, Walter.
All right, you've been listening
All
to another episode of, you can find it here and anywhere you get your podcast. Grrr.
It happens.